everybody, and welcome back to another video. Recently I just finished reading the Moon Rising graphic novel, and I have a lot of thoughts. So anyone deciding on whether or not reading this is worth your time, I'll be sharing my take on what I liked versus what I didn't like, that way you can determine if this is for you. This does contain spoilers for both the Moon Rising story and graphic novel art, so please click off if you're not wanting to see any spoilers. Also, before I begin, a huge shout out to my patrons. Crazy Roblox Man, Drag1195, and 3 Moons. Thank you so much for supporting me. Links to their social medias are in the description down below. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. I'll be breaking this up into 3 different segments. The art, the storytelling, and just my random opinions on what I liked versus what I didn't. Let's first discuss the art. Oh my goodness, has Mike Holmes improved a lot from even the last graphic novel installment. I really love how expressive his art style is. With the covers, it's hard to see that life in the characters. Now, I get this is because they're supposed to look super cinematic and in an epic pose, but I'm glad we also get to see them looking so lifelike and how I imagine them while reading. Jade Mountain Academy blew me away with all the illustrations. The underground lakes were just gorgeous, and it was such a treat to see all the classroom settings. Everything felt so open with all the windows and light, and you can really see how much the Knights of Destiny wanted to change things from how they grew up. It was nice to see all this visually, and the detail that went into the backgrounds was just awesome. Honestly, reading this made me realize just how boring I imagined the academy. The scenes in the library made me want to curl up with a good book in such a cozy location. Everything gave off the vibes it needed to, like certain rooms feeling really open with all the windows, and others feeling very compact and dull, like Webbs' classroom, a reflection of his boring personality and teaching. The Price Center was definitely very chaotic, and I love how its chaos was represented visually. Everything just felt so nice with all the art, and that's not even just the start of my praise. I really like how much Mike Holmes has improved on his dragons as well. Kinkajou definitely stood out the most to me, and I really like all the small changes made to her. The expressions for each character were so well done, and really brought the story to life. And speaking of the story, I really like how we got to see more of the smaller moments that were skipped over in other graphic novels. Obviously things have to be cut short, but I do like how some of the smaller, meaningful moments weren't excluded. This graphic novel wasn't even the longest, but it still did a great job of telling the story. I know some people didn't like how much text there was, but the inclusion of a lot of text bubbles wasn't necessary to tell as much of the story as possible. I liked a lot about the Moon Rising graphic novel, and I definitely think it's the best one we've gotten so far, with its gorgeous and detailed illustrations, great character expressions, and overall just how fun it was to see my favorite characters come to life. But I can't say it doesn't have its problems, some of which do need to be acknowledged. I'm going to say this. I do not like how Mike Holmes draws Sandwings and Icewings. Keyblade just looked hideous in nearly every frame, as did every other Sandwing with maybe the exception of Onyx and Ostrich. I've never been a fan of how the Sandwings have been drawn in his style, even in the Arc 1 graphic novels. And while they're getting better, I feel like what we're seeing now is more of an experimental style that'll be improved by the next few graphic novels. Still, I had a hard time admiring the Sandwings, even if Mike did do a better job distinguishing their designs than in the past. But the Icewings of the tribe I had the most gripes with. I'm just not a fan of how the Icewings are drawn in the graphic novels, and I never have been. The spikes in their backs and the odd jagged scales just look so weird. I seriously couldn't tell the difference between some of the Icewings, except when Winter's blue highlight was really dramatized in some frames. With this scene of Icicle, I literally thought it was Winter when I looked at the picture without context. And I'm sorry. Winter's tiara and armband just look goofy? I don't really know how to describe it. I don't like the Icewing's soulless eyes. It looks more creepy and lifeless than cold and calculating, if that was the intention. The tribes Mike Holmes really draws the best, in my opinion, are Rainwings, Mudwings, Nightwings, and Seawings, with some definite improvements on Skywings this time around. I could stare at some of the dragons from these tribes for hours. Others, not so much. Some of the design changes were a bit unwelcome to me. I'm not sure if the anatomy was just off or what, but Moonwatcher was really tall and really long. He was described as being small in the book, so this was a little off-putting. And speaking of Moon, the prologue was easily the most wasted part of the graphic novel for me. I get that the main story is more of the focus when creating these, but there's been a continued trend of terrible prologues in the graphic novels. The graphic novel for book 1 didn't even include the prologue, which was something that was vital for setting the mood and introducing the reader to the story and world. It really made you feel so out of place, lost, and confused when reading if you didn't already know the context by having read the book. We see just terrible prologue after terrible prologue in every graphic novel. And for Moon Rising, they wasted arguably one of the best by shortening it so much. I get that adding Secret Keeper Sneak Out would have been a lot more to add since it was a fairly long scene, but at least make it seem more forbidden. We got no context on how Secret Keeper chose Moon's name, and we were robbed of all the cute little baby Moon pictures we could have had. Just a couple of art pieces showing a wide-eyed baby Moon looking up the glowing 3 moons and having Secret Keeper watch with awe would have gone a long way and wouldn't have been a huge inclusion or time commitment. We didn't get the reasoning as to why she named her daughter that, or even the focus on the moons that foreshadows why she can read minds. Can you see why something like this needed to be included? Not only could have it been a beautiful moment to represent visually, it would have set up the story and a future discovery in a more meaningful way. I know I praise the graphic novel for leaving in a lot of needed scenes, but there is one I really wish we could have seen above all else: the Jade Winglet in the Music Cave. It would have been great to show Kibi on the drums and all the Dragonets coming together to make some music. Could have been only a page or 2 long, maybe even part of a montage of the Dragonets exploring the school and attending classes. The transitions were pretty rocky at points, especially with Moon going to bed and then waking up. You just cut from one scene to the next very quickly, and I feel as though some clever transitions could have been present. But to end this video off, I do have one final praise: Turtle. The way his absence was presented was fairly well done, with him not even appearing in the backgrounds of most scenes. He and Moon working together was done really great, and I'm glad they weren't skipped over and the two of them got some time to shine. As much as I criticize some aspects of this graphic novel, I can really see the improvement that's being made. The Brightest Nights appeared very rushed and messy with sloppy artwork and poor storytelling, but this one felt like Mike Holmes really had enough time to craft this world and everything in it. It just goes to show that with a longer wait comes better quality. With the graphic novel and such a beloved series, that is ultimately the most important thing. And to finish up this video, if you want my final thoughts, I definitely say to give this a try. I really enjoyed looking at all the artwork and seeing the Jade Winglet. As a huge Wings of Fire fan, this was definitely a treat. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!